this is Sage with Let's Groom, and today we're going to go over a little bit of brushing and combing techniques for brushing out our dogs. So as you can see, this guy has a very long and thick curly coat as a poodle. So I want to adjust a little bit with our tools. So my slicker brush I'm using today is a big paddle one to get into this nice, dense, thick, long coat. And my teeth on my slicker brush are very long. These are about 1 inch and they're very, very flexible. So I'm not gonna be pulling the coat as much as I'm brushing. And it's gonna be a lot more gentle on the skin. I also do have a mat cutter here. These are something you do need to be trained in with your instructor or manager, because the underside of these does have a cutting blade on it. So there is a level here of safety that we need to be aware of for both us not cutting ourselves and not cutting the dog, but it does have a place and purpose. And then the last thing is I want a good greyhound comb or poodle comb. For this coat, I do have a poodle comb that's bigger with longer teeth, and they're a little bit more separated. So I'm not gonna go in and try to attempt to tackle this coat with a smaller comb like this with closer together teeth. I want something that I can actually get in there and not pull the hair too much, and it's gonna slide through that easier. And also the length of the teeth is gonna let me get to the skin. And there are even versions that have further apart teeth and even longer tines. So you can get a comb that's gonna match the coat that you're working on. So in this case, first I'm gonna go through and just lightly get the surface of my coat with my slicker brush. And light repetition of strokes is gonna be much nicer on the dog than trying to get in there and actually pull at coat. As you can see, when I set this brush into the coat, it's gonna pull the hair, and I don't wanna do that. So I'm starting out with just surface brushing and just lightly going over it to start at the ends and the tips of the hair and separating that coat out. Now, because this coat is so thick, I'm not gonna get all the way to the skin on this first brush, but what I'm gonna use is a technique called line brushing. So I'm gonna take my hand, I'm gonna separate the coat up so that I can see the skin, and then I'm gonna use my brush to brush out the part that's hanging below to the skin, and I'm gonna work my way up, doing one line at a time. So I'm slowly releasing hair from my hand, and as it falls, I'm brushing that hair that's fallen all the way to the skin. And you can see here that in the part of the hair, you can see the skin there. That's how I know I'm brushing all the way to the skin and getting through all this thick coat all the way down. And once I've done one line like that, I can turn and come a little bit more to the inside of this leg and start line brushing the next row. So I'm gonna kind of grid it up in a pattern and do one row at a time. And I'm gonna work my way from the toes all the way up. I'm gonna do the same thing here. So I'll do like a row right here across the body, and then I'll go up, do another line. And that way I can get every single inch of this entire dog brushed to the skin pretty quickly. I know it's done right, and I'm not pulling on his skin while I'm doing that. And then, of course, you're gonna check your work with a comb, go back through where you've brushed. And we haven't done this whole leg, so we're hitting a couple of snags there. But you can see, now I can feel the skin, and I can comb all through and make sure I've gotten every knot. Now I did feel a little bit of a tangle right up in here in his thigh. This is a good point where I'm gonna get my mat cutter out. And most of them have a safety spot for your thumb, so that you have a really good grip and a safe grip on that. You should make sure your fingers are out of the way of the knife part and that you have a good safe grip on it. Now the thing with mat cutters is you're not gonna put it in under the mat and pull out, because even though it has a blade on the underside of these teeth, it's still gonna pull the hair from the skin. It's not gonna feel good to the dog. So what I like to do is a little teasing motion where I get under the mat and I kind of do a quick little cuts and just tease the mat up away from the skin. So that's gonna just look like this. And when I feel resistance, I'm not gonna keep pulling. I'm just gonna slowly tease those mats out a tiny little bit at a time. I don't know if you can see, but some of this mat hair is kind of flying loose there. But you can see he's not reacting because I'm not actually pulling his skin. being very, even though it's a quick movement, it's very gentle and I'm not pulling hard. And then I can come back through with my slicker and it's going through really smooth. And there we are, we've got that thigh mat completely combed out and a comb's going to the skin and I wasn't pulling on his skin while I'm dematting him. So just for, we're gonna go through first with our slicker brush. We're gonna do a light surface brush. Then we're gonna go through and line brush. Then we're gonna check our work with our comb. When we hit a snag where there's a little bit of a mat, we can use our dematter to get that out, or we can go back over that area and reline brush and just get any little bit that we missed. Sometimes with a nice flexible slicker brush, you can still just pull those mats right out by just gently going it over and over it a few times. The last note I'm gonna put on brushing is we wanna make sure as we're doing these repetitive motions that we're not pressing against the skin super hard, because these little wires that are the teeth in our slicker, we don't want to scratch the skin repetitively over and over. Even if we don't do it super hard, we can do it so many times that it will irritate the skin. So just like if you took this brush on the sensitive skin of your arm, and even if you didn't do it hard, you did it over and over and over and over again, it's going to slowly scratch the skin there and irritate it and make it red. And that's what we call brush burn. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure we're not pressing hard to the skin. And keep an eye on your dog's skin as you're working to make sure that it's not getting red or irritated. And they'll kind of let you know too, you know, watch how they're reacting. If they're starting to kind of pull, flinch away, it might be because you're getting a little too much repetitive on the skin. So we're gonna go through and brush this guy completely out and show you the finished product.